Assalamu alaikum, guys. This is episode 9. It's episode 9.
Oh my God, it
Episode
is.
9 of Missheard. This one's a little bit different, guys. It's a WFH. If you don't know what WFHP means, it's a work from home podcast.
Oh wow, I was just like, I don't even know. I don't know what that is. I'm not involved.
So welcome to our WFHP Missheard episode 9. We got Hafsah on the show. She's always here. She's not going anywhere. We've got Zara on the show. That's me. I'm her.
I am she. She is me.
She is me. I am she. Me is me. This is episode 9, guys. It's a great episode. We talk about so many things, right? So many things.
That was a nice detailed intro.
That is the best intro I've ever good. We just talk about so many things. It sounds a little bit different because we are at home. We are abiding by the anticipated lockdown that is looming over us like a grey cloud in a grey world. But
Oi, that was too much. They've just started. It's grey cloud, it was a lot.
And that is the precedent for the rest of the episode. Please enjoy.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hafsah. I just had to. I apologize.
Start thinking of rainbows and start the episode. It is a good episode. We speak about challenges during lockdown. We spoke about being on a rut. We spoke a bit about Bojo. Classic British chat. We just didn't speak about the weather, but other than that, it was classic.
It was a classic British. It was a classic British chat. Talked a lot about. Definitely had to go back into our high school traumas. I mean, you can't have a Missheard episode without talking about our traumas.
Well, we started with primary school, now we're on to high school, so next it will be uni.
We're moving up. Next it will be uni, and we're still currently going through it. So,
maybe
we'll keep you
early,
updated.
too soon.
Maybe a bit too early, a bit too soon. But yeah, guys, this is episode 9 of Missheard. Enjoy, and here we go. Assalamu alaikum. We are live. We are live. Feeling stressed that we're doing such a technical episode. This is honestly,
usually I sit down, that's about as technical as it gets, but now I have to press record. There's I have a role.
If people saw the first 10-15 minutes of what we were trying to do, we look like grannies. So what do you press now?
Wait, so Margot and voice memo, is that how we record that? Yeah, right. So
that's literally how we sounded.
Honestly,
that's literally how he sounded.
It's a shocker, isn't it?
It goes to show we have no technical skills, and that this just being able to set up a Zoom podcast episode for today was such a mushkila, but we did it.
To be honest, it's not my fault because my school was so broke that we had to stop IT in year 8. So technically it's the government system that has allowed me to be like this. So
wait,
I don't
what?
blame myself at all.
You stopped IT in year 8? No, back up. What?
We had a lack of what we like to call government funding, and so I had a lack of what we like to call education, and so I now cannot do anything. I literally had to Google everything I do on Word, how do you download a document? I go into YouTube and I listen to these people who have 3-minute videos. That's how I learn IT. I don't know anything. There's no information in this head about IT. I don't know how to do even basic stuff.
You're right, but you did you had that part of the childhood where you would go into IT and play on paint and stuff, right?
Yeah, let's just put it that way. That was the last thing I remember. That was the
playing on paint. Okay.
Yeah, literally. My primary school education for IT, okay, decent. Knew how to use paint. Got to high school, it ended there. I pretty much know how to do. I didn't. Control V. I literally learned in GCSE times. I didn't even.
You're lying.
It's sad. But when you go to a broke school in Northwest London, that's what you get for an IT education. Did you have IT like GCSE?
I mean, I didn't do IT GCSE, but we did have it as an option. We had it as an option. Yeah, I mean, I never did it. I did it until year 9, and then that was about it. But wow, I can't
No, but
believe
even
that.
PE, like they dropped PE, like people got PE GCSE, not in my school, boy. We had even a language. If you wanted to get a language, you had to pick it. Like it wasn't like a compulsory subject on the side. Like it had to be one of your options.
Right.
It's beautiful.
So how many GCSEs did you end up racking up?
Wait, let's do it. Okay, so I did triple science, that's 3. I did maths and English,
You
that's
were a
5.
triple science girl? You know how elite
I
that
love
is?
science.
That was
No, but we had to pick
elite.
it.
I don't
We
even
had to
think I
pick
was
it.
double. I was so bad at science. I think I was
But I had
single
to pick
science.
it. It's not like it was like I had to do that as a separate GCSE. They didn't give it to us for free. Like we only had 4 options to pick as extra GCSEs, and I had to pick triple science as an extra GCSE. Rude. Like
That is
most
rude.
people just got it. Anyway,
Wow.
and then I had history, and then I had French, and that was.
I loved history GCSE. I don't know why. It was really my thing.
Sorry,
it was really my thing.
Silent. I didn't really like history GCSE, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I love civil rights when we did that, and I liked learning about some of the stuff. But then I just thought, this is just all a bit basic, isn't it? Like, I don't know. It didn't have much substance for me. I do
find it very negative. It's very negative. You're just living in the past. And you only learn about the traumatic past. You don't even learn about the good past.
I like learning about history in general as a subject, and I liked learning in history as a class. But when it came to the exam, I didn't really like the exam.
Yeah, there was very, very wordy, very wordy. A lot going on.
Very wordy, yeah.
I think I was such a English lit kind of girl where I loved. Was it language? What was the one we used to analyze poems? That was me. I loved that. Was it lit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
lit, right? Because that was like when you had like poems,
literature.
And I think language
literature
was like newspaper articles and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What's that guy? Bear Grylls. I was about Bear Grylls.
No, you did your GCSE on Bear Grylls.
Yeah, we were in the same year. What thingy did you have? What example did you have?
Oh, all of them.
I'm sure anyone who's in the same year as me remembers that paper, because we were all just like, what? Of all the news articles globally, let's talk globally, in the English language, you chose this one. The Twitter, like the post-Twitter vibes after your exam, where everyone goes to Twitter,
I started getting on
hashtag,
Twitter. Yeah.
What was the answer to question 18B? Somebody, what was 18B? What did you guys get? Then you have the
Can you believe what they asked before?
Yeah,
it was too much.
Lucy had 8 apples. I didn't understand why Lucy had 8 apples. Like, it was like the best part of exam season, honestly. Like, that made me feel so much better about all my wrong mistakes, because I wasn't alone. It was a national struggle, it was a real movement. And
that was when Twitter really came to light. That was when Twitter really came to light, though, for everyone, is after the exams. And I think that's when we realised how petty Twitter is. It started from such a young age, when we used to come out of our exams and everyone used to be on their phones being like, can you believe what that person said? And then realising that you basically failed your exam because everybody else got just different answers to you. That was always the case after maths.
And then there was always that one person that made the unofficial paper and then released it. Do you remember that on student?
The unofficial.
And then you would be like, I didn't get that. What did you guys get? Oh my God. According to the unofficial paper, I've got 93%. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, honestly, when I look back at myself, I'm like, Hafsah, what a shameful life. Like, I used to be obsessed. Like, I would just like obsess over every mark, and like it's a good thing in some ways because it helped me focus during high school to try and get good GCSEs. But at the end of the day, it's a GCSE. Why was I sitting on student room comparing mark for mark?
And everyone that's listening that's doing their GCSEs, please don't take this as a free pass. Do good, work hard and do well. But are they?
I was gonna say, if you're gonna fail any set of exams, fail your GCSEs. Let's be real. Like, not fail, but get a C.
Yeah, fail's a strong word, and we're gonna get a lot of complaints.
We're gonna have a strong word, but honestly, there's people I know who got C's and whatever, C's and B's at GCSE, but then they smashed it and got 40 stars at A level. So I'm just like, if one set of exams don't it's better for you to do better in your A levels than your GCSEs, basically, because your A levels is what they care about, not your GCSEs. No one looks at them. As long as you've passed English and maths, it's okay.
You're competent. You're all good.
Yeah, you're competent.
You're a British citizen. You're a good,
you're a
strong,
British.
English-speaking
my
British
God.
citizen.
Do you know what's so funny about that? Is that I was watching this video of this girl take a British citizenship test. When I tell you, I would never have been let into this country.
No, they are hard. I've seen them. Do you know they ask you questions about like Charles Henry the First? I don't know what Henry. There's too many, but there's a Henry. They ask you about his political alignment with different countries. Like, it's so, I don't know what they put on that test.
Literally, what year did Henry VIII rule? Blah, blah. I just no. Unless you're asking me the dates of the world wars, I don't know anything else from my history GCSE.
Yeah, I don't know why they make those tests so hard. But listen, in light of recent news, as our listeners are going to definitely know the outcome. So this puts our listeners at an advantage because they know what we at this present moment don't know, which is what Boris Johnson is going to say at 8 p.m. Okay, so when this gets released, our listeners are going to be all over this and they're going to know. But at this present moment, we are simply... It's today, 8 p.m. We are hours, literally about 1 hour exactly away from hearing what he's going to say. Me and Hafsah do not know what he's going to say, but word on the road.
Know what Boris is going to say.
Word on the road is word on the street is that 12-week national lockdown is a brewing. This is until
I honestly think it's true. I think it is true, and I think a national lockdown is brewing, and I think it has brewed. I think the tea is ready.
I think it's cold.
Ready to dish out.
I think it is a cold tea. Yeah, that's a tea that has been like molding in someone's bedroom. You know, when you leave a tea on the side and
no.
I don't do that. I mean, who even does
scary.
That? Yeah.
No, but you know what's so shocking is that this is completely off topic, but on placement, you would not imagine the amount of people that think that it's okay to have tea and rinse the cup with water and put it back on the drain. I will come for all of you today. Soap, you need to scrub it. It might be tea. It might be a liquid. It might look like it's clean.
A tea stain.
You need to scrub the mug. Hurts. That's why.
Yeah. No, but not even that.
Crazy, but I take my mug with me. I'm not leaving it there because you people do not wash my mug properly, and I am that person who takes.
Oh, my mug you're that employee that takes their own knife and fork and. Oh, yeah, I bet you bring your own tissues.
Your fork is now no longer sterling silver. Scary. My fork is from my house, which I know is clean. But back to Boris, I think a lockdown will be okay. I think it's better for us to do it now and have a free summer, basically.
No, forget all of this about having it now, Hafsah. This was meant to be done last April. So if you're saying it's better to do it now, I think you have erased from your mind the last 12 months.
We're Brits. Do you know what I mean? What else do we do except have hindsight? Do you know what I mean? We love a bit of hindsight in this country. We're facing unprecedented times. And in hindsight, I think it's just the best thing to do with the numbers right. Why can't we just do it in the first place? We love hindsight. It's not everyday hindsight. You know what I mean? Why? I don't understand.
Sometimes action. Sometimes now. Sometimes help.
They just don't understand.
They don't. But yeah, so we don't know what's going to be said. We have a good idea. Lockdown, we're going to have to get used to this whole Zoom podcasting, Zoom episodes. I mean, I think it's very liberating because I really... I mean, to be honest, what I am doing is deeping how messy my room is and how much needs to be done. So not that great. I felt like the actual studio took me away from the, problems that I already had and made it quite a, podcast focus. But it's fine. We're gonna make use of our situation and we're gonna make the best out of it. So Zoom podcast, here we go.
In some ways I kind of like it. I feel like we're both sitting on our beds, we're quite relaxed, I think the conversation will flow. But you got a cuppa, I've got my water with me,
I have got a cuppa. I have got a cuppa.
A bit better.
I agree. Wow. I agree. But we'll talk to me a little bit about your week. Well, you know what, let's be honest with these guys. Our weeks haven't been great just because we've both, I think part of being a part of hosting these podcasts is also to be real with our listeners and stuff, and to relate to them. I mean, that's what this thing is all about. Like, our biggest goal with Missheard was to try and relate to people and to try and make everyone feel as part of the third person in our conversation. I think mentally we've had quite challenging weeks, which is why we didn't bring out an episode last week. A lot going on, a lot of stuff happening, personal stuff, everything, right? So what we have both done, which I think is really nice, is that we've taken a really mentally challenging week. And I think today we both had a bit of realization that, you know what, we just can't keep going this way. You have a challenge, you have mentally challenging moments in life, but the biggest thing is how you actually manage to escape it, and how you manage to change that into a really positive state of mind. So how did you do that? Because I know that both of us have been feeling types of ways. What is your go-to for just getting into a positive state of mind in a really, really difficult week?
To be honest, I don't know. I think sometimes, I think it's different. Everything is different. I think that usually if I've had like a challenging day, sometimes I just I can sleep and I can wake up and I can feel better in the morning. So sometimes, when they just say sleep it off, sometimes sleeping it off works. I think each time it's different. But usually I sleep, a cup of tea, and a little bit of a break away from civilization. So like turning my phone off, or, just sitting on my bed and watching watching a lecture, whatever it is that I'm going to do, even if I'm just doing uni work, like just taking a break from my daily life to just sit down and do something for myself usually helps me feel a bit better. But I think the only thing that was different about this time is that it was just for such a long period of time. I was like being unproductive. I was just like, nothing was like really helping. I think also it was just coming to the end of the year. And when you're just deeping the whole year, you're just thinking about everything that's happened in your year. I think that was just quite an overwhelming thought process in itself. So it took me way longer to get over this like rut that I was in. I was just like, I don't know, like I just needed something else. And then today, it was only today that I don't know if everyone who's listening will be aware, but there's like a girl that I follow called Flag of Islam, and she basically has like her spoken word on there. So she does spoken word, and she put up a spoken word that she did talking about lockdown, and how she basically reflected on the fact that when you're in isolation, or no matter what is happening in your life and whatever struggles that you're going with, then Allah is always with you. So it's like you're alone, but to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, no matter where you are, you're always with Allah. And that kind of, even though you can see that reminder so many times, that reminder just hit so differently today. And it really like helped me change my mood, and like, just start thinking more positively. I just needed to hear that basically. So that's kind of what helped me get over it this time. But
you accepted the fact that you were in a rut, which I think is always the first thing, because a lot of people are in ruts. And I'm really happy that you touched on the point about especially this time of year. Now, usually this time of year, people are doing a lot of celebrating, right? It's a festive period, as we all know. Living in London, it's a festive time for most people, and obviously the new year, and there's a lot of like excitement. However, there's actually a very dark side to this time of year that nobody really touches on that frequently, because they probably just don't want to be like the Debbie Downer or like put a dampen on things. But this time of year is really hard for most people, and we have the days getting shorter. It's it's very dark around 4 p.m. We don't have a lot of light physically. We don't have a lot of natural light coming in, and then on top of that, we feel very low and isolated with ourselves. On top of that, there's so many things, right? And people do find themselves in a huge rut this time, and that could even be because financially they're probably wiped out because of their month. Like it's the end of the month, people waiting to next paydays, whatever it may be. There's so much going on, but the biggest thing that people don't actually realize is that they need to accept the fact that they're in a rut right now, and because you can't do anything about it if you don't know. You know what I mean? You have to accept it first in order to be able to put action on it and work through it. So I'm really happy that you said that the first thing you kind of realized was that you were in a rut, and okay, like where do we go from here? And I think I was feeling the same as you for the past week, it was just a constant negative mindset. And the next day at nighttime, we do this thing, right? Before we go to bed, we're like, okay, that's it. Tomorrow, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do everything. We wake up in the morning and we wake up Fajr maybe, then we go back to sleep. And then if you go back to sleep, I tend to have a bit of a post-Fajr nap. I can't help it. You wake up and you feel flat. Like, you just feel flat. You're just like, yep, that to-do list that I had going on in my head last night before I was going to sleep, that is out the window. And then it's that cycle. And then you get frustrated at yourself because you can't get out of the cycle. It's a lot of emotions. It's a lot. But yeah, it's really important that we talk about, if someone's in that rut, what do we do to get out of it? And another question I have for you is, I know personally what makes me feel like I've had a really bad day, but what is an indication to you that you know that you're having a bad day? So for me, I know that if I wake up if I wake up at midday or past midday, that is it. Like, for me, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be in a good mood that day. Like, I'm gone. Yeah. Some people struggle with food if they've had a bad food day. Like, what is it for you that like, yeah, that's just ruined my day?
I don't know, to be honest, because I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying I'm like some positive penny that goes around skipping on the hills down to you.
Yeah.
But I think usually small things is not usually what gets me in a bad mood. Like, it's not like, if I wake up late or something like that. It's usually like, unless it's like loads of things after one another. If that happens, like when it's just like, this is just not my day. Like, you wake up late, then your tea drops on you, then you miss your train, then you trip down the stairs and you bust your lip, and then your bio rips on the trip. That can put me in a bad mood. And I'm not gonna lie, that happens to me quite often, where like there's what's it called? A series of unfortunate events, basically.
Yeah.
Where that happens. That can put me in a bad mood. But if it's one thing, usually I can get over it. Like, I'll be like, okay, I woke up late, it's peak, but let me like try and look forward to the rest of my day. I think for me personally, it's just like, if something happens that's actually particularly upsetting to me, that's when I'm usually put in a bad mood. Or if I go into like a cycle of negative thought. So let's say, let's give an example. Let's put it into context, as they say. Let's say I'm like thinking about like, like uni. Everyone can relate to it. Someone studied at some point in their life. So let's say I'm talking about, studying, and I'm talking about uni, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like, I'm just so behind on my lectures. Then I start thinking about the fact that I failed an assignment. Then I start thinking about the fact that I have to repeat that assignment. Then I start thinking about the fact that I'm going to get capped at 40%. Then I start thinking about the fact that the lecturer doesn't even like me, so I'm probably
right.
Okay. Then I'm like, oh my God, and I haven't even, like, it's like when I sit down for too long and I don't have anything to do, and I just start thinking negatively, and I allow myself to get in that cycle, that's usually what puts me in a bad mood, because it's like you're thinking about everything that's negative in your life. And also, if you're alone, it's even worse, because then Shaitan will put even worse thoughts in your head and then make you think badly of so many different things. So that's usually what puts me in a bad mood if I do get in one. It's so
maybe the act of overthinking.
That's a good. See, this is why you did English and I didn't, because that's a good way to summarize what I just said.
The act of overthinking, yeah.
The act of overthinking is what puts me in bad mood. But
yeah. So yours is more like when you've got something in your head, like say you haven't achieved something, right? And again, it could be something like you feel like, I haven't revised for this, therefore I'm going to fail this exam, therefore I'm going to fail my module, therefore it's like a ripple effect until you really deep 20 years down the line, future kind of wise, and you think, that's it, I am
I'm screwed.
Yeah. My children will, that's it. So okay, fine, so that's a good thing that you've touched on there. The act of overthinking can really put you in a bad mood. So maybe your bad days come from, a part of your bad days can come from being alone for like a long period of time, because that's when you know that it gets a bit dangerous. Some people, I know a recent, I guess you could say an influencer type person came out and talked about her, I won't mention who it was, but it was a person who came out and spoke about their relationship, their difficulty in a relationship with food. So she said, I've been having a few bad, she suffers from like an eating disorder where she binge eats. So she completely binge eats when she feels low. So say for example she's done some overthinking, or she's had a bad day, and the way to rectify her bad day is to really, really binge eat a lot of different foods, and then kind of skip all her meals the next day. So, which obviously is very unhealthy, but a lot of people go through it. Loads of people go through different eating disorders, but it's interesting to see what different things can put people in different bad state of mind depending on their relationship with it. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely say my relationship with sleep is one that can put me in a bad mood. If I wake up super late and I've really, really slept in late, for me that will definitely like just make me feel like, oh, that's it, I feel really, really unproductive.
But you know, like, honestly, sometimes I would say to you to not even feel bad about it, because genuinely, when you think about it, sleep, I'm not saying like, please guys, don't like start all getting up at 2 p.m. and blaming me. What I'm saying is that sometimes your body just genuinely needs a rest, and that's why sleep is a blessing. Because imagine if our bodies didn't need that regain, imagine if we were awake for the 24 hours of the day, we would lose our minds, like mentally we just wouldn't be there. So if your body says to you, if you sleep through that alarm and you don't have something to do that day and you get up at 12 o'clock, don't like beat yourself up about it, because your body genuinely is trying to tell you, Zara, you better stay asleep, because you need to rest right now.
I agree with that. However, I don't agree with it being so constant, especially during lockdown. So like for me, it's been so repetitive, because obviously we wake up and we pray, but then once we've prayed, like my thing is, I don't really have anything to do today, like in terms of, especially during like I said, the past week has been like a bit of like a, on the festive period, nothing's open. So for example, you can't even make the calls that you were supposed to be making, or you know, things that you do on your day off. I always know that I have a bunch of calls that I have to make or whatever. Nothing's open, no offices are open, there's nothing to do. So even the mornings, so I'm like, okay, fine, you know what, I can have a bit of a post Salah sleep or something. But that has become so constant to the point that I only then have about 4 or 5 hours in my day to do anything productive, because then it gets dark and then you're just, you know, who wants to do anything past 4 p.m. these days anyway? So it's just, you know, I think that's what gets me down when I'm restricted in time. Maybe that's what it is. It's the restriction of time. If I don't have enough time, I panic, and it, you know, scares me. You know, because you are then restricted. You only have like 4 hours in your day. You just feel really like everything's a blur. But now that we've touched on this, how are we overcoming these things? Because that's what I wanted to know for today, because how did you
overcome yours? Because I spoke about the whole thing today. What made you overcome
my I think today was a good day for me, because I know it sounds really silly, but I thought, it's a Monday, you know, like if we're gonna, I hate people that do things on a certain day, because I just don't believe it. I don't believe that you need to start that diet on Monday, even though I say this a lot. I don't believe that you need to start exercising on Monday. I don't like this notion of doing something on Monday. I feel like, why can't I just start on Thursday? You know, like where's the rule book? But I thought, you know what, let me just give in. Today's Monday. Let me just try and start some new habits. So I got up, I cleaned my room, cleaned everything out. And I do believe that if your room is tidy, your mind is a little bit more tidy as well. Don't ask where I heard that, or if I can, like, what's it called? Verify that. I can't, but it's
just like something we would have learned in psychology.
It's something to do with, yeah. If your surroundings are a little bit, you know, clean, whatever, so is your mind. It can declutter your mind too. So that's what I did. Made myself, you know, some lunch and stuff, and that was about it. And the reason why I tell you that is because you also do have to do things in small chunks. Like I thought, let me not overload it, because tomorrow I'm gonna have nothing to do. So if I've cleaned my room today, tomorrow we're gonna work on, you know, something else. So day by day, just taking it slowly. It is hard though. It is hard to come out of a rut. It's not easy. It's not easy.
But I think and you even like
takes a lot of effort.
Because I'm not even gonna lie, like I think sometimes it's like it has to be done in stages. I don't think that it's like one of those things where like you're in a rut, or like you're feeling in a negative space, or like you're like mentally like just not there, and then you transition and become, you know, happy go lucky, you know, skipping down the streets, you know, humming to yourself. Like, I just don't think that you make that transition that quickly. And I think one thing I realized is that I think after being in this period of time, this like past month where I've just felt like very like different, I have not felt myself, and I still don't completely now. I think that it's taught me the fact that everything is so different. Like, sometimes you see things on Instagram and it talks about like, oh, if you're feeling in a negative space, here's a checklist for you to go through and, you know, you'll feel better. And that might work sometimes, you know, pampering yourself and giving yourself some me time might work in some cases when you're feeling low. But I think for some other circumstances, like for example, some people lose family members, some people might have a sick relative, those kind of things, they're not really the same kind of ruts. They're not really the same kind of different mental spaces that people are in. So I think each one needs to be taken case by case. I think just don't, like, there's nothing you can do except like take it head on, you know, cross that bridge when you get there. And I think for anybody that's in that position now and might be going through a very tough, difficult time in your life, I would say to just always remember that no matter what, then fundamentally, no matter what it is that you're going through in your life, Allah is always there with you. And I think that that's the ultimate thing, because no matter how many times somebody tells you, you know, I might be saying this now and it might not click for you like it didn't for me for such a long period of time, for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. I think that you just need to hear it multiple times and try and allow yourself to be in a space of being reminded of Allah, you know, read some Quran, make dua to Allah, you know, watch lectures, whatever it is, watch uplifting things, and at some point it will click. Like, inshallah, it will click, and you'll have that moment where you just feel like, okay, that was a bit of a relief. Like, I feel like I'm, you know, getting like past, like, you know how you have a curve and you get to the peak, like the peak of the sadness or the peak of the mental strain, and then it starts like peaking off back to normality. I think it's like that. Like, you might reach the brink and you might be right on the edge, and you just need something to allow you to start going down the slope back to how you used to feel.
100%.
But yeah, I think just have a, like, you know, call it a positivity playlist, whatever you want to call it, whatever cringe Tumblr title you want to give that playlist. I called mine Love This. Like, that is just like, why? But I called mine Love This, and I just, you know, I put everything that I love, you know, where I'm like, oh my God, I love this, I love that, I love this,
love this.
Anything that I love this, you know, anything that I love and I just think is so uplifting, I put it on that playlist. And then whenever I feel like, okay, this is a bit of a negative space, I'll play something from that playlist, because I know that's what personally reminds me of Allah and what personally makes me happy. You know, typing in, bro, if you look up my Google searches right now, mate, I was typing in some silly stuff before, like, you know, how to get out of a rut, or like 5 things to start having good habits.
That's what you end up doing. Like, you end up Googling like things like that, how to get out of a rut. But the thing is, we've got to remember, like, there is no rule book into getting out of ruts, and there are ways that can help you, but you have to take it at your own accord. And something else to mention is that, like you're saying, if you're going through a difficult time in your life right now, a really, really tough time, and you don't feel like there is much of a way out, also remember that emotions are there to be felt, because sometimes we really rush ourselves to get better. Okay, it's good to we really, really rush ourselves to get better. Emotions are exactly that. They're emotions, they're feelings. And what are feelings supposed to do? They're supposed to be felt. Like, you're supposed to feel, if, like, it wouldn't be called a feeling if you weren't supposed to go through it, right? But then again, you're going through it. So if you're going through something, you will eventually get out of it, because you don't get through. It's not saying, oh, I'm stuck in this. You're saying, no, I'm going through something. No one ever says, I'm getting stuck in a sad place. They say, I'm going through a bad time, you know, which means it's a traveling process, and you will reach the destination of not being in it anymore. So that's just something to remember. And, you know, it's hard to talk about a certain situation and for people to relate to it unless they are going through it. But that is my biggest thing, you know, like, if you're really, really struggling right now and you really do feel like you're in a rut, do one small thing today, one small achievement and you'll get there slowly. It just takes time. And time, do you know what a good question is, Hafsa, for you? Do you think time is a healer? That's something that I want to know.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry.
That's okay. I just want to know, is time a healer? Because this is a question that I've actually been asking myself a lot recently, right? And as much as I'm saying that, I'm saying that in order to get out of a rut, you do have to do things slowly. But does time heal, or does it just or does the problem that you're facing just get easier because of the amount of distractions that you're having in life? This whole phrase, is time a healer? What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, it is, because I think with time everything gets easier.
Yeah.
And I think also pain is very raw, and I think it's like a scab. Like the first time you like, especially if it's an event in your life that is happening and that is what is causing your pain, it will ease over time because you become more accustomed to that pain. You become more aware of it. You know how to deal with it. So, like, for example, let's say somebody passes away, and then after that person passes away, then you feel a lot of pain when that first happens. You feel distraught. You don't know what to do. You feel hopeless. You don't know how you're going to live without that person. But when you manage to survive day one, you know that it's possible. And when you manage to survive day two, you know it's possible. And so as the day goes on and you learn to deal with that pain, then that scab begins to heal. And so in the end, you have a scar left, and that scar may always be there, but it's healed in a way where it's like it's a scar that you can deal with, if that makes any sense at all.
It's not painful.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's not hurting you. Like, it's not pain. when you cut yourself, so there's pain with what you're going through. Like, you're physically hurting in so many ways, but then it just becomes a scar, and it's something that you live with. So you end up living with that scar. You end up living with it, but it's much more manageable because of the amount of experience that you've had with that wound.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it doesn't mean that, further down the line, you might not think about that pain or that thing that's bothering you and then have it, hurt. Like, that's completely natural. That's normal. For even if it's 10 years down the line, you might think of that person randomly when you see something that they like, and you might feel a tiny bit of that pain in your heart. But it doesn't necessarily then mean that you haven't dealt with that problem and you're still, experiencing the same pain as the time, because, the way you would have felt that pain when that person first passed away and the way you feel that pain after 10 years is different, but it's both there, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think time does heal, but nothing.
It's a void that can't. It's not really gonna. It's a void that doesn't get filled, but that's purely because of something my cousin once mentioned. She went through like a difficult time in her life when her mum passed away, and she was saying how the void doesn't get filled, but the void isn't a indication of, like, the grief isn't an indication of your pain. It's an indication of how much you love that person. So it's actually an indication of how much you like. Isn't that beautiful? So, like, if someone's grieving someone, yes, you're sad, but that sadness is a reflection of how much that person meant to you and the impact they had on your life, rather than the loss itself. Not like, oh my God, that's it. Like, they've gone from my life and I don't know what to do. And so many people that have been affected, especially with this pandemic, probably don't know how to deal with their grief. But the good part of it is that the impact that person's loss is having on you is a mere reflection of just how amazing that person was. And how much that person really, like, just, was such a big part of your life. And I think that's something to hold on to, for sure.
I completely agree. And it's so true, because even in the Quran it says, verily with hardship comes ease. And so I think that even though you're going through that tough time, the ease is there. And it's not even like after the hardship comes ease, which is the way that I remembered it for so long, but it's with the hardship comes ease. So within
That's
that
the way
pain,
I got taught. Yeah. I
yeah,
always, throughout my whole life, it was always, for some reason, it was very misinterpreted that the line or the ayah was verily, after every hardship comes ease,
yeah,
until we realized that it wasn't. It was like within that
yeah.
hardship.
Honestly,
SubhanAllah.
like I even like, yeah, that's why it's like it's just crazy. Like sometimes you'll hear something, sometimes you just hear it differently, and then it strikes you differently. Because I think sometimes, you know, when you like, it's like when you're going through something so hard, it's like there's almost like a background of relaxation with it, because I think sometimes you go through something very, very difficult in your life, but the way that shapes you and changes you impacts your life in a way that is like better. And I'm waffling so much right now, so this might not make any sense, but it's almost in a sense of like, let's say somebody, you know, goes through something really traumatic, but they learn how to be resilient, and they learn how to be they learn
Yes.
about emotional intelligence from the way that their siblings are dealing with that, or the way their
Yeah.
friends are dealing with that, whoever it is that's going through that hardship with you. And then you learn how to speak to them and talk about their feelings, and you develop that emotional intelligence and how to deal with people who might be suffering in different ways. And then you take that information and it improves you as a person. Then in some ways that is the ease that has come with that hardship, because you have then become a much better version of yourself as a result of that hardship. So yeah, I don't know, you just have to, as they say, look on the bright side of things, you know. Sometimes just,
I think we're all in a state. We've definitely, without fail, every single one of us has found ourselves in a rut. I think we should call this getting through the rut. That is the episode.
getting through the rut.
Getting
Yeah.
through the rut. But no, every single listener of this episode, I'm sure has experienced a rut this year, definitely because of the hardships that have come. And they all probably have different ways of dealing with it. And sometimes you think you're very resilient until you find yourself in a rut. And I would, would like to think that I thought I was very resilient as a person. I don't let things bother me. I'm just very much just whatever, like, is what it is. Like I just move. I have a very tunnel vision of just trying to get through things without looking left, right, nothing. Sorry if I sound a bit ill. Don't know what's happening to me right now. Had to happen mid-episode for me to just get all blocked up. But yeah, no. So I would see myself as quite resilient, very just tunnel visioned with everything. Like I said, I don't look around. I'm just like, whatever. But when you're in a rut, it puts things into perspective. And I realized, man, maybe I'm not as resilient as I thought I was. Maybe I am very, because in that moment you also become very worried about so many things, right? Like your mind is just everywhere. But I do also think it's good because it slows you down majorly, and it just makes and if you're not ever slowed down, you will never be able to appreciate things. You'll never be able to appreciate that time when you had it together, or that time when you were able to do things and feel, not so run down or demotivated. So then after the rut, when you're then in a mental space where you're motivated to do everything, you're waking up early, you appreciate that, because you're like, wow, like, I couldn't do that 2 weeks ago. I couldn't do that. I couldn't be motivated to do anything. So now I'm in a place where I am, really appreciate. And again, we need bad times in our life. What for? To make us more grateful. If everything in this life was so good, if everything in this life, this life itself, it means the lowest of the low. This dunya, like one of the very strong interpretations of the word of the dunya is the lowest of the low, which means it's not a place. This isn't our home. We know this. Like it's very temporary. It's not for us. We're not here for it, but we're here because it's our trial. It's our test. And that's one thing. That's why we don't have everything good here. But second of all, if everything was good, what would we be grateful for? Like, what would we actually be grateful for? Because we have everything. We have no problems. We have no issues. Like, we'd all be so. I feel like we would be very egotistical, and we'd be very self-absorbed individuals because we never had reality checks, you know? So if you're going through a bad time, if anything, it's just making you more grateful for the good things in life, you know, what you do have. But it is hard to see it that way when you're in a rut. It is. And you're not going to notice that till after. I think that's a really kind of interesting point. The fact that if everything was good in this world, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't be able to differentiate. Everything would be taken for granted. We think it's a really, really horrible thing in the moment, but there's always a bigger picture, and Allah only tests the ones He loves the most. So, I mean, you know, that's a fact. So, and again, we just have to see this as this life isn't temporary. This isn't temporary, and yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, you're completely right, to be honest. You're completely right, because
it sounds a whole bunch of waffle, but I got a point. Okay, I got a point.
No, yeah, I get your point. I get your point. I think that most people would agree, because I think sometimes, like, especially like, for example, with everything that's happening with COVID now, which is something everyone in the world can relate to, I think that even though it's a difficulty, I think people have come to appreciate what it is in their lives that is valuable and important to them, and what it is that they can live without, because we've had to make those hard decisions. So we've had to figure out what it is that you value enough to keep in your life, who it is that you value enough to keep in your life. Because now, you know, like, for example, when everyone talks about in high school, when you think those are like, all even primary school, and you're like, oh my God, we're going to be friends forever. Like, this is life, you know, the strongest thing ever. But it's a circumstantial thing, because you're around each other every single day. That's why you're circumstantially friends. So now the people you've kept in contact with, and even though you're not going to see them for maybe a year, but you've chosen to speak to them, you've chosen to FaceTime them, you've chosen to like virtually meet up with them however you can, are the people that in your life you genuinely care about, and you care to see and to speak to and to make sure they're okay. Even if the whole world is telling you can't see each other, you're going to make it happen at some point. So I think that shows, you know, what is important in your life. So in some ways it has been beneficial for people to appreciate what they have and to evaluate what they have to every extent. So yeah, to be honest, I completely agree with you. I don't really have much else to add to your beautiful point.
That's true though. Like, that's the whole circumstantial thing. Like, I never really deeped it that much, but you're so right. You would only, you know, act a certain way or be a certain way because you were in high school, like you were in with the friends that you know, that you thought so highly of and everything. But as soon as you come out of it, I think so many people coming out of high school and moving on to, I don't know, if they went to a different college or they went to uni or they went into went straight into a job, you know, they changed so much in that year because they realize that they're no longer subjected to their everyday life surrounded by the same people and the exact same notions and, you know, what have you. They're now becoming their own people. I realized I changed a lot in my gap year. Like, I think I became, like, I understood what was relevant and what wasn't. And you just go to think like, oh my God, sometimes school can just be so toxic. Wow. No, but
why do we always end up talking about trauma on this podcast? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. You think back at school, right? You think back at high school times, and you just think, wow, like, yeah, what was even going on? That was
high school is actually such a character building experience. Such a character building experience. I think you go through so many experiences where you're just like, okay, wow. Even in terms of like the first thing that you're majorly responsible for, which is your GCSEs, people get part-time jobs, you know, they have like, you start to be responsible. I feel like that's like the responsibility phase, where you have to start, you know, you have to apply to college yourself, you know. Not a lot of people, like when you apply to high school, primary school, your parents are the one filling out these applications, but you were the one going to college open days with your friends. It's like, guys, where are we gonna go? What A-levels are you gonna pick? Who am I gonna be when I grow up? So,
Hafsah, you know when I knew it was over? You knew I knew when my child is over. When my mum made me make my first ever doctor's appointment by myself. When she was like, I'm no longer making a doctor's appointment for you. She's like, you can call your
Double
GP,
head.
you can call your GP and you can tell them what's wrong with you, and you can go on that bus and you can go to your GP. I was like, wow. Because you know, your parents always
I
make
don't
your doctor's
remember that
appointment for you growing
moment.
up. Yeah, my mum always used to make my doctor's appointment for me growing up. And then the moment that she said no, I asked her and she said no. I said, okay, this is where adulthood begins. Because, you know, it's just those little things that you realize. I don't know, what was it for you that you made, like, realize, okay, yeah, I'm an adult now? Like,
I don't think I have a moment, like a quote unquote minute by minute, hour by hour moment where I said, I am now an adult. I think that, I don't know, I've always been like quite a, what's the word? What's the
independent
nice
child.
way to say it? Yeah, let's go with independent. I've always been quite an independent person. I don't like people to help me. I like to do stuff by myself. So even when it came to like my high school application, I remember being like to mom, yeah, I want to put this school first. I want to put that school second. Like, this is where I want to go. I heard about this and I've spoken to these people and I've done this research. And I was just like, wow. And I remember my mum always talking about the fact that I used to sit down with her friends with my tea while they were all talking about big girl stuff. And I was sitting there as a little girl coming in the conversation. Who did I think I was is what I want to know. But yeah, I
Oh,
think that I
you
was
were
always
that
like
kid.
I was that kid. I was
I
the
think you
person
always
who
wanted to
sharpened my
know.
pencils before
Yeah.
I went to primary school kid. I was the girl who used to have my pencil case ready before school went kid. I
Yeah.
was that person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't
I
think
think
I
you've
have an
always
adulthood
wanted
moment.
I think you've always wanted to know things. I think that's interesting about you, and I've noticed that since being friends with you. I think you love to know things. Not that not knowing things frustrates you, but I do think that you get a thrill out of knowing kind of like what is going on, and I think that's really nice. But and then now it makes
I like,
sense that you would
yeah.
sit with your mum's friends and have tea with them. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
bro. Like, honestly, I've always been with people older than me. Like, I don't know why. Maybe because I'm the youngest girl in my family. So, literally, my sister's friends are all older than me. I used to sit with them and chill with them. So, I'm not gonna lie, I always felt like I was a bit mature for my age in each age gap that I was in, because I always wanted to be like, the cool girls, like, you know, my sister was just so cool and I was like, I want to be like you. Oh my god, like, you're just so fabulous and intelligent and beautiful, and oh my god, like, you're my idol, like, I just love everything, like, teach me, like, everything. Like, I just liked learning from my older sisters, like, even Islamic things,
Yeah.
educational things, no matter what it was, I just liked learning from them and I liked sitting with them. So, you know,
I
when
think
I
that
got to
you do.
sit
I
with the
think you
cool kids,
do.
maybe that's when I got to think that I was an adult.
I think having me and you both, alhamdulillah, have older sisters, and I completely resonate with you, completely relate to the fact that you see your older sister as, like, you know, just, you think so highly of them, you know, and like, wow,
Mm.
like this gem who has just walked through the door, you know, like you do see it like that. You do really see them as like
Yeah.
someone that you really think, and I think it's actually quite beautiful because growing up for myself, my sister was, you know, she was one of the cool kids. She was, you know, always had like, you know, really cool clothes and everything. Like she was just, you know, alhamdulillah, mashallah, she was just that girl. Like, you know, she was really, really,
Mm-hmm.
had all the cool things, had you know, the cool phones, the pink flip up phones. That was her. I loved it. I loved it. I was like,
Yeah.
you know, like, give me your life. Like, I just, this is so
Mm-hmm.
cool. Um, and even still, like, we still share, we're still very close. And I don't know, you think to yourself, like, I want to be like that. I want to be like my sister. Like, I want to just, if I can be like that, then I'm set for life. I'm good. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
cool person. Everyone will like me. um, but it's a visual. Whatever they say is like gold dust, you know. Like, if they say something, you're like, yes, it's true. They can
Yeah,
say the most
honestly,
off thing, and you're like, no,
I
because you
believed
said it.
everything like that they
Yeah,
said.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
also because you're a child, but at the same time, just because you trust so much in them and you care about them so much,
yeah,
and they, like, you just respect them so much, then everything they say to you or every opinion that they have is so important. Like, if I was to buy something and my sister said that's so ugly, I'm putting it back. Like, and, you know,
I'm
she
not
said
leaving the
it's
store
ugly, I'm
with
not
that.
buying it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if she says something's cool, I'm not leaving the store without it.
yeah,
So,
we're spending our
yeah,
savings. I know it's
honestly.
true. There must be some sort of little sister syndrome, like just something that, like, there must be something scientific that says that this thing exists, because I think
Remember we were talking about is that whole sibling thing, like the position of where you were born, like if you're a middle child, if you're an older child, if you're like the
yeah,
youngest child. But yeah, and I think everybody in their family set takes like a position. Like it's an unspoken position, but everybody has one. Like you have the person that like books things, and like if like a plumber needs to come to the house, there's that person that does it. And then there's the person that buys everything for the house when things are missing. They're just the person that buys things. And then there's the other person that like like there's one of everything in the family. Like you assume your positions. Like
we're the
it's a
organizers. Me and
silent
you are both
code.
the organizers. We're the organizers for
Yeah.
sure. I
I
can't,
literally
if
had to
there's a
call a plumber
party.
today.
Yeah, I mean, if there is like, no, but even for like a get together, I'm hosting Eid, no one else can host Eid. If anyone else tries to host Eid, it's gonna, there's war. Like, no one, I can't, like, no one can, that's my thing. Like, I think and I also have a very competitive side to me. Like every year I message my siblings and I give them a statement. It's a bold statement, but I do it to challenge them, you know, not that they care because they don't, but I put it out there. I threaten them. I said, look, I'm sorry, but I'm going to give the best presents this year. And then then it just becomes this thing. And I think just being able to like say that like I've decorated the room is just such a thing of mine. So I think it's a good thing that I'm definitely one of the youngest, because I wouldn't be able to cope otherwise. I just have to. But it's good because nobody else does it. So for me, it's like, well, I have to do it.
Literally. That's what I'm saying. You assume your position, because it's like, if I was to not call the plumber, nobody's gonna do it, and so they'll just all be looking around like, Hafsah, when are you gonna call the plumber? Like, bro, like, what's going on? So I think like it's just like you don't even need to speak. It's like an unspoken rule. Everyone just knows. You know who you are in the family.
You know what to do. You know your role.
It's like there's always the one person that always like usually does the things for the parents. Like, you know, like my sister now, because she has a car, she's usually the parenter. Like if my mom has an appointment, she's the one taking her. If something's missing from the house, she's the one that has to go and buy it because she's the one with the car in it. So I think it's just like everybody has their role. You just have to, you don't get to choose it.
And just embrace it.
Pretty. You just embrace it.
Don't fight it. It's just your role. No one calls the shots around here. It's just the way it is, and you just have to abide by it. Okay.
Yeah, I think every year there's always a sibling
gets
that
away
tries to change
with
it, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they tried to hold like a family meeting. They tried to hold like a family meeting, and they tried to get out of their role. And it's like, no, you were born with this. This isn't something like, you don't. Yeah,
you don't have a choice.
You just need to just take it. You know. I know it's hard, but you have to just do it. But there you go. Family
it's like
rules.
Even like there's things that everybody will do in the family without about it. Just done. I think it's lagging because they keep accidentally speaking over you. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
I mean, okay, it does lag. Oh gosh, we're having the technical granny moment again.
Technical difficulties. I think it's back to normal, darling. I think we're back to normal.
I think we're good. So, 10 minutes until Bojo.
Really?
10 minutes until, yeah.
Oh my god, so we can announce it 3-4 days late, but you'll find out if you haven't already.
We're gonna find out.
Let's see what Bojo says.
No, do you know what? He's not going to come on at 8. We know how this works. Remember the last time he delayed it by 2 hours?
It was like an hour late, yeah.
I tried to do overtime at work just so I didn't have to miss his announcement, and he decided to make me do an hour overtime. I just don't think that was cute. I do not appreciate such things. But
Live updates as PM addresses the nation. Experts warn major additional measures are on the way.
Wow.
What will Boris Johnson say on TV 1 hour ago? Let's see.
The thing is, what will he say? And the question is not what will he say, but how will he say it in a way that nobody understands and everybody leaves that conference feeling very confused? That is what we need to remember.
I just wait for like some sort of news program to make it into a pie chart or a table, or I don't know, some diagram, and then I wait for that. That's why
I do feel sad because I feel like no one no one listens to the scientific part of it. Like no one listens to the scientific part. You know what I mean? It's so crazy.
What do you mean by the scientific part?
You know when they do the scientific slideshow, like they do the PowerPoint and nobody listens. Like they you know when they're trying to explain.
I listen to that bit the most, to be honest. I listen to that bit the most. I think it depends, because I think everybody who works in the NHS or like is a student of the NHS listens to that bit, because you want to know how peak is my life going to be at placement when I go.
True.
How peak is my life going to be at work when I go. And you also, I think I remember like my sister like was sitting down after one of her shifts and she just heard Bojo on the news talking about it, and then he said that we had 1,000 deaths, and it like hit her, like she stopped what she was doing and she just got like you could just see like she was hurt in her own soul, because she is in ITU as a nurse dealing with this herself, and when she heard that, she just remembered the figures back from March and knew that we were now in the same place as they were in March, and that when she's returning back on her next shift, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So I think for me, even like it's not even as deep of a thing because I'm not in ITU. Like for people who are in ITU, it's probably worse for them. When I go back to placement, I'm going to be an outpatient, so you know we'll probably be more eased than uneased because we'll have less patients coming in. So if anything, I think it's a lot. I think for people like who work in the NHS, that's such a like big thing for them, because they recognize how stressful it is, because sometimes on your actual job, like you might not be hearing the figures as much, like you know it's hectic, you know it's busy, you know it's a scary time, but because you've been dealing for that for the past 9 months, you're not sure, you know, how bad it's getting until you hear those figures, and then you recognize the fact that there's no beds left, and then you're like, okay, this is a bit of a... So I felt it in a different way because of my sister being in that exact environment, than just, you know, her going in every day has put it into perspective for me. Because the figures can be one thing. And I think especially when the figures first came, like when the first wave of the pandemic hit and we saw those, you know, we were like, oh my God, like 1,000 people died today, like they lost their lives, and that's 1,000 people's families, that's 1,000 people who had to get bad news, that's more than 1,000 people had to get bad news, you know, that's 1,000 people that are going to be buried soon. When those numbers are rising like that, I think it affected us a lot, but now it's almost like we're desensitized to it, because to be honest, now when I hear these big figures, I don't think it hurts me as much as it did then, or like shocks me, let's say, not even hurt, shocks me as much as it did then, because I've become desensitized to the matter because it's been going on for so long. But for them, because they're living that experience, they're not desensitized to it because the stimulus is there every day. They're going in every day experiencing that. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think that I don't know when this is going to end. I really, really don't. It's looking... I
think it's because it was 1,000. We reached the peak. I remember when it was like literally just over 1,000 in April, when it was really bad. And then it happened again just now, just a few days ago, where it was like 981, and then it was, you know, went up to 1,000 stuff. It just goes to show, like, this is so serious. And I know that. And did you see the amount of people that were like at like illegal parties and stuff, and you know, all gatherings and just these massive things? They were showing on the news as well. They're showing like all these people coming together, and you just think like, if one person at that, you know, massive gathering knew someone that had it, they would like excuse me, my throat is going, they would know, like they would just know the pain. But because they don't know anyone, or maybe they do, they just still decided to turn up, but like, you know, it's this is why, because people are defying the rules. Like they're doing protests, anti-lockdown protests, and like just defying the rules, but you are the reason that the rules exist because you are defying them. Like, this is
to be honest,
the thing. I get that people are so frustrated, but I think I get people are so frustrated and want to go back to normal life, fine, but there's a reason these rules are in place. People have been bending them, I myself included. It's very hard to maybe just stay in one place, like, whatever, but this is a serious thing, and it's just, we need to just be more vigilant.
I think I'm in such two minds about it, because I'm just like, especially for like the first part of the lockdown, I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe that people are going out, and like the first wave, like especially because like this, it was such a like unknown thing. And like my sister was suffering at work because like they didn't know, no one knew what was happening, no one knew what it was very panicked, she was very stressed and whatever. I think just seeing that, I was just like, people are so selfish, like I can't believe they're doing this, why are you going to see people just follow the rules and whatever. And I think for that whole time I was just like, I did not want to hear anybody's excuses as to why they were going to see people. But I think now, as time has as time has passed, I've just become more like aware of the situation. And I think that I'm in such two minds about it, because yes, I inshallah will be working in the NHS, and yes, I'm on placements, and yes, my sister works for the NHS and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, like, like people are taking like they're really taking us for a ride. Like, we're the ones who are going to be suffering when it comes to this. We're the ones putting ourselves at risk, but people want to be doing up house parties. But in some ways I'm like, if people respected our government, and we had a government that put in rules that were respectable, I think people would respect the government and then follow them. But because people don't respect the government itself, and the government is doing like a very wayward job with this situation, and you can be understanding to a certain extent and say, yes, it is an unprecedented situation, but in some ways you look at the rules that they're making and you're just like, where is the logic behind this? Like, people are just getting frustrated because there's no preparation, there's no consideration, people are slipping through the cracks. If you're gonna not give me furlough pay, and my family is going to be at risk of being homeless, and you don't care about giving me payment, and why should I listen to your rules? And that's what people are saying.
People are frustrated. People are really frustrated. I've heard about
different people's like, of course they're going to be like, their lives are being impacted by this. And we've got Rishi Sunak coming on the TV acting like it's happy days, talking about the furlough scheme for the 400th time, telling us that it's prolonged to March. But 20% of somebody's salaries it's a big deal. Even if it's a lot, it's a big deal. If somebody was just about making it for their bills, just on the brink of it,
taking 20% out of that.
And put them in a very vulnerable situation. And for some people, they're not even getting furlough. Some people might not have worked long enough. They might have just moved to a new job. 2020, let me get a new job. They might have not been at their job for 6 months. They might have not been able to get that support. So what support is there for those people? Some people had to continue working to make money and like put themselves at risk. And then that's traumatic for them. And they're getting, depressed, and they're getting scared. They were frightened about a virus and being forced to work because they were going to end up on the streets. So in some ways, yes, I think from my own personal perspective, as somebody who's seen it firsthand through my sister, and inshallah we'll be starting placements soon, I think in some ways, yes, I'm like, okay guys, like, try not to be selfish, we're all suffering, let's get through this. But in some ways I'm like, if people respected our government, they wouldn't be breaking the rules like this. Like, it's worked in so many other countries. But saying, oh, by the way, I know you have a business, I know you have a family to feed, but tomorrow we're going into lockdown, what kind of preparation is that? People have weddings, tomorrow going into lockdown, of course people are going to have secret weddings and go behind your back to try and get their weddings done, because now you're really not, you're not going about this in a practical way, and putting us in lockdown, out of lockdown, in lockdown, out of lockdown. So there's just, I've spoken so much, but
it's
I think
true. No, you're right. That you hit on some good points. You hit on some good points, and I think we're not. It is very frustrating, and even doesn't it just hit you the fact that like we saw New Zealand and Australia like normal life, not one single case, normal life, managing to just go about their day because they were so strict and vigilant and just like not budging when it came to the first set of rules for the lockdown in April. And because of their, like, timely kind of efficiency when it came to, well, not even timely efficiency, does that even make sense? But you know what I mean? Like, just being really, really strict on everything has meant that they can now go back to normal life, and they now have, everything kind of running smoothly for so many countries, but we're still here, stuck on our 5th lockdown.
Yeah, I just don't understand. They tried that whole herd immunity thing, even though everyone was telling them it's like how. It frustrates me, because when you hear the reports come out and you read them and you see that the scientists literally told them months ago, oi, we're in a bit of a situation, you might want to lock it off for a little bit. And then Bojo is just like, nah, we're good over here. Christmas is about to come. I don't want to spoil people's Christmas. That would be inhumane.
Let's just
meanwhile locked it off for Eid. That was perfectly fine. And then 3 seconds before, you decided to tell people, okay, even if you've all now made your plans for Christmas, booked your tickets, decided that you're going to spend time with your family, come to terms with the fact that you're going to suffer through it, but have 5 days free. I'm taking that back. I just think it could have been planned so much better. And yes, I'm on the outside looking in, but it's hard not to be when you have no other position to be in and you're not happy with the way that things are going at the moment. Because it's not just about economics. It's not just about so many other things. And I remember seeing somebody, I think I've mentioned it already, but I think I remember seeing somebody tweeting about how the fact that mental health is going to impact people's lives more than COVID, because you're going to see more people suffering as a result of mental health than you're going to see from COVID if we continue these lockdowns. And they're not wrong, because if we don't use lockdowns properly, they are not productive. They are periods of time where we have a drop in economy, a drop in mental health, it's not useful if we don't use it right. If you're going to lock down, you need to do it for a long period of time, suffer through it, and then come out the other end. But if we're not going to come out the other end well, we're just going to be going back again, aren't we? Like, we had 4 weeks off in November. What did that do? We went back into another one. Like, it was just like, that was 4 weeks of people not having business, technically.
Yeah, that was it. That was literally it, because who even listened to that one? I don't know. But, well, look, he's going to do his announcement and make it clear what is going on. And next week we will come back with our episode and we will be like, right, Hafsah, we are here on Zoom for another 12 weeks and this is life. Maybe we'll be able to try and get some guests on our Zoom, which will be quite nice. And I think definitely get the larger opinion of the people.
I think, I think it's going to be a different time if he does announce these 12 weeks, because it's 1 minute past, he's probably speaking right now. I think if he does announce that we're going into lockdown for 12 weeks and we are going to be doing this until March, then I'll just say to everybody, do you know what? We're going to get through this, inshallah. Like, just remain patient and think about the reward that you will get for remaining patient in these times, and try to just think of it in a positive way. I know it's very much easier said than done, but try to do what we did in the first lockdown, where everybody was playing games with their family for the first bit and talking to their friends and coming up with creative ways. I think try to focus on that bit for now, because it will be difficult, but since we don't have another option, we have to go through it. That sounds like that book, when they were like, oh, we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we have to
just gotta go through it.
Just gotta go through it. But yeah, don't worry, guys, we got this, inshallah. Just keep making dua that Allah makes it easy for you. And oh my God, I don't know what's happening with my phone. That Allah makes it easy for you. And yeah, you'll get through this, guys. You will get through this.
We will get through this, and we will help you get through it by giving you top 10 out of 10 content from Missheard.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what she's about to promise them, but this is Zara. This is her.
This is all on me. We are giving... Don't worry. We will try and keep you guys...
We're giving away free iPhones! Woo! I was like, oh no. What's she going to say? But yeah.
No. We don't have the budget for that at Missheard. Slowly over time, we would love to give you free iPhones. Maybe just, maybe like, like not telling you what generation iPhone it will be, but a iPhone, you know, maybe the 3S.
Apple just sponsor us personally. I just think like you can benefit so much from our audience, like, you know, we're just
no, but inshallah one day we'll be able to give you free iPhones, but for now we're going to give you great content, a lot of laughs. We are sorry if this episode was actually, no, you know what, unapologetic waffle. That is what I'm going to call it. Unapologetic because, you know, times are hard and sometimes you just need to tune out of life and tune into Missheard. That is wow. That was good. That was good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so good. That was so good.
Let's end on that absolute cheese of a line and catch you guys next week once we know what the situation is. Me and Hafsah are gonna both go find out what Bojo's saying, and we will meet you next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.